This is our final talk in the Run the Race series, which has been based on a passage from Hebrews chapter 12, which encourages us to run the race with perseverance, the race that's marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, who is the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. And this morning, we're thinking about what happens at the end of a running race, which is winning the prize. And each week, we've been looking at how we can run our race with Jesus. Last week, Jim spoke to us about keeping on track, and he challenged us to think about growing in the fruits of the Spirit and encouraged us to think what our training plan might be for this term. And this morning, I want to talk about how knowing Jesus is the greatest prize. So we've been thinking over the summer a little bit about sports in our various sermons. And it probably won't surprise those that know me to know that I'm a really competitive person. I actually play sport to win. It's not about the participation for me. It's about the winning. And I can't think of sport or any type of game or competition without thinking about, am I going to win? So I wondered, what is your best winning experience? It doesn't have to be sport related, but turn to the person next to you. What's your best experience of winning that you've ever had in your life? Turn to your neighbor and share that story. So I hope you've had a chance just to share your moment of glory, your moment of winning. And I'm sure there are some brilliant stories, probably way better than my experiences of winning, to be honest. But I thought I'd share with you this morning my personal greatest experience of winning. And it's when I won this medal. It's from my high school. It's got my high school engraved on the back. And so I want you to picture the scene, okay? You're not great at school, but you're really good at sport. You're in year 7, you've come to the end of your first year of high school, and it's sports day. You line up for the 4x100 meter race with 3 of your best mates who are also really sporty. In fact, it helps because you're probably the only sporty girls in the whole school. And every single one of you runs the absolute race of your life. Just incredible speed and technique the whole way round. And you break the school record for the year 7 4x100 meter girls relay race. Thank you very much. But not only that, your time is so good, it beats the year 8 and year 9 record, which I was particularly proud of. So proud, in fact, I've kept this medal for 20 years just to prove that moment of glory happened. It does live in my garage. It's not out on the counter, I promise. In today's story, we heard how Paul was previously known as Saul, and he thought that winning the prize was all about how well educated he was, how respected he was, how well liked he was, and he thought winning the prize was about pleasing those who were in authority. I grew up in a Christian home, and in one sense, I've always known Jesus. But before I decided to follow him for myself, before I decided it was my choice to follow Jesus, I thought that winning the prize was all about pleasing the people around me. My parents, my teachers, my football coach. I thought winning was all about getting through life as well as you possibly can without getting in too much trouble if you can avoid it. Winning for me was doing well. And I wonder what things for you feel like winning the prize. Do you try and win the prize of pleasing your boss at work or your teachers at school? Do you try and win the prize of being the most popular? Having the most followers on Instagram or the most views on your TikTok videos? Do you try and win the prize of doing well in tests or exams at school? Or do you try and win the prize of trying to get a better job or get a promotion? There are lots of things that we can strive to win that can feel like winning a prize, although not necessarily always a medal. But Paul says in Philippians chapter 3 that he considers everything a loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Jesus Christ. for whose sake he's decided to lose all things. He says, I consider all the stuff that I once thought was a win as garbage, as rubbish, that I may gain Jesus. At the Olympics this summer, Adam Peaty, a picture of him might appear on the screen. He swam the 100-meter breaststroke final for Team GB, and he won a silver medal. And after the event, in an interview with The Times, he said this: I'd rather have my faith and my relationship with Jesus and come second than have gold. Knowing Jesus is worth everything. Knowing Jesus is worth more than all the times you've done well at school or at home or at work. Knowing Jesus is worth more than the praise or the recognition you can get from pleasing other people. Knowing Jesus is worth more than being popular or well-liked. Knowing Jesus is worth more than comparing yourself with somebody around you and trying to think, am I doing better than them? Knowing Jesus is worth more than anything that this world has to offer. All of this stuff, all of the stuff that we try and win in the world around us is worth nothing in comparison to the prize of knowing Jesus. Knowing Jesus is the greatest prize. Although I've known Jesus my whole life, there was a moment when I needed to decide for myself that it was my own faith and not just my parents'. And that choice is one that I've continued to make hundreds, if not thousands, of times. Knowing Jesus is the greatest, most freeing, wildest thing that I've ever done. Knowing that there's someone that loves me, that I have his approval before I've even got out of bed in the morning, is the greatest prize in the world. Choosing to try and get to know him more each day is the greatest thing in the world. Knowing Jesus made a huge and radical difference in Paul's life. Instead of trying to arrest and kill Christians, he started telling everybody about Jesus in the hope that they might become Christians. And instead of going around trying to please the people in authority, he actually just went around telling people about Jesus and how great he was, so much so that it actually upset the people that he used to try to please. Knowing Jesus is the greatest prize. Theo, could you just carefully open that for me? The thing is, as we'll see once Theo's opened this, you just pass me it back. Once you've opened it, don't open the thing inside, but just take the wrapping paper off. It's all right, don't worry. Knowing Jesus is the greatest thing. But when Paul knew Jesus, it didn't actually look like much of a win. He was imprisoned. He was shipwrecked. He nearly died multiple times. From the outside, it really didn't look much like he had won very much. Even though from the outside, Paul's life didn't always look like he'd won the prize. He said, even though all these things are happening, it is so much greater to me to know Jesus than all the stuff I experienced before, all the great stuff I knew before. You see, the true and the greatest gift is that we can be known by Jesus. The true and greatest prize is worth more than anything on earth. Knowing that there's a God that loves us, that even though we mess up and get stuff wrong, because of Jesus dying on the cross, he's made a way for us to be with him and to be known by him. We get the opportunity to get to know him more each day, just by inviting the Holy Spirit to come and fill us. The things that once might have been a win become like a loss, because knowing Jesus is so much greater. It's the greatest prize in the world. As we head into the coming week, there are a couple of things that I wonder you might want to think about, and they're just going to appear on the screen. And I wonder, for some of us, is there anything that we're holding on to as a win that you might just need to let go of, because Jesus is greater? And until you let go of that win, it won't feel like Jesus is greater. I wonder, is there somebody that you could share your own wins to losses story? Just like Paul went around sharing his story about how all the things he once thought were great and now rubbish in comparison to knowing Jesus. I wonder if there's somebody this week you could share your own story with about the difference Jesus has made in your life. And this is the end of our Run the Race series. And so I wonder if there is one thing from this summer series that you might want to continue to put into practice this coming week.